It's been a little bit different. It's been getting into Web3. This time, the title has taken a bit of a dramatic turn. It's called Getting Real in Web3. And we'll discuss why. But if for those of you following the crypto markets, Web3 markets closely, then you would have seen a very drastic change in tone over the last basically year, with various developments and crises, and it all fits into the broader financial situation and global economy. So we need to get real. No more airy-fairy, lofty ideals. Now it's time to see what Web3 is made of, and if it actually works, if it actually makes money and is sustainable and gives results. So just a bit about me. I've been head of recruitment at Maker. It's the best, most successful launchpad in the industry. I was with Mintrust, a DeFi lending protocol, and with a game development studio as well. And I'm Australian. I live in Dubai now. It's the 4th city I've lived in outside of Australia, outside of Sydney. And I've been in Web3 recruitment for 3 years and recruited pretty much every single function and role that any organization has. Okay, so today's plan, we're just going to go into the current Web3 job scene. Actually, there's one section missing. We're going to go into the market developments, what's happened since September when I gave the last presentation. And then we're going to go into the current Web3 scene, job scene. And then the first step when approaching your career is figuring out your strengths and your interests. Then doing the research, and then approaching recruiters and companies and projects. And there's 4A, this section 4A, to demonstrate value. This is very important now for all of you, since you're more newcomers to Web3. So you're really going to have to demonstrate value in order to stand out above everybody else. Salary, remuneration, and tokens topic, very important to familiarize yourself with that. And then I'll leave you with some learning materials. Okay, understanding the market and why it's important. So, and again, Alyona, Tim, if you're listening, this is why I wanted to have a two-way sound, because I want to ask a question at the end of this slide. Why this matters, why it's important in relation to finding a job. First point, the war on crypto in the US. So the American regulators have decided that they were probably umming and ahhing, not sure what to do with crypto for a while. It was probably helping to suck money out of the inflationary system, but now they want to actually cancel crypto and cut it off from the traditional finance, meaning that they're going after all the on-ramps and off-ramps, all the ability for people to buy crypto. So exchanges, they're going after the exchanges, and FTX is a prime example. Bitcoin, altcoin correlation, yes, for those of you who are trading, Bitcoin, Ethereum correlation, those remain. The Bitcoin and S&P 500, so this is the big Bitcoin and traditional markets, equity markets, their correlation increases during periods of volatility, which is what we have seen in the last 12 months, lots of volatility. And why does it matter? Because it means that crypto and Bitcoin is not a safe haven, and because it follows the same up and down as equities. So why would investors leave equities and come to crypto? Important that is now happening. Ethereum is still #1 for smart contracts. The internet computer, as it's known, Ethereum, because it has smart contracts and very programmable. They just released a new Ethereum community, just released a new ERC 4337 token standard. If you're not familiar with Ethereum token standards, do familiarize yourself. because the functionalities are getting better and better and better. For example, splitting transaction costs, splitting transaction fees, making more decentralized apps possible, meaning more projects start, meaning more job opportunities for you. And the question is, why is it important to know what's happening in the market? Why can't I move this? Okay, I'll ask that question after the second slide. I forgot it was broken up into two. Yeah, so next thing that's going on, interoperability challenges continue. So you have all these blockchains and they don't talk to each other as much as they need to. So you can't swap assets between them. You need to find bridges. Web 2 to Web 3 transition. So if you're following, Nike, Adidas, luxury brands, banks, etc., they're all figuring out how to use NFTs for collections, for ticketing, and lots of examples there. Layer 2 is struggling to take off. Gamify projects struggling to find adoption from gamers. Anyone here is gaming, probably you thinking, well, what's the point? And there's a lot of scams. So again, what's the point of introducing blockchain? Movement towards DeFi. So because a lot of centralized companies, FTX, Voyager, and others have failed. And they're all centralized systems. The US government wants to say it's crypto fault, but actually they're centralized entities, not decentralized. So people are moving towards DeFi. Security breaches continue via bridges and data oracles. If you don't know what a data oracle is or a bridge, familiarize yourself with that. A bridge is, if two blockchains don't speak to each other, you can find a bridge that can port your assets between them for a fee. And data oracles are basically off-chain. That's like real-world data brought into on-chain. And that's to prevent arbitrage, people making money from trades through imperfect information. Continued scrutiny of stablecoins. Do familiarize yourself with how stablecoins operate, and there are different types. So that is the stablecoin market is $145 billion market. So market capitalization, actually. So it's huge, and it's a massive on-ramp for how people get into crypto and how the hell they leave crypto back to fiat. So they're coming under scrutiny. And then real asset tokenization trends that's coming up. It's a slow burn. You can imagine. So this slide and this slide, developments in the industry. Why does it matter? Because if you are going to start applying for gamify jobs related to GameFi startups, and you know that adoption for games is struggling, or you start applying for centralized exchanges and you know that people are moving to decentralized exchanges and decentralized protocols, you're going to struggle, and there probably won't be any jobs actually. So that's why you need to know what's happening, so you know where to put yourself, where to apply your skills, where to sell yourself, and to send your CV and focus on the companies that are growing, not dying. So the job scene. This is a little bit outdated. It's about 10 months outdated, but it is the latest report. It can be very difficult to find out to find accurate aggregate data around jobs because of the nature of the industry. There's a lot of informal hiring going on with zero job descriptions, zero interviews, 20-minute discussion, and just through relationships. So there's a lot of missing data, but this is not too bad, this one. Top 3 advertised jobs: Solidity developer, full stack, UI UX design. Not sure how technical you all are, but what has happened is we had a bull market a year ago, and we've gone into a bear market, into a negative sentiment. So all marketers, sales, operations, project management, etc., have been cut, and projects have focused on maintaining products, maintaining technology, and even increasing that and building new products, but they're not ready to market them yet because there isn't much of a market that will take on these opportunities. So tech and product functions remain very strong. Sales, marketing, operations, project management, struggling, definitely. So also think about geography. US, I wouldn't bother too much applying for jobs based in the US or American companies that are regulated by this SEC. Europe is pretty good. They've got the pretty strong regulation at the moment. These jurisdictions as well. Oceania and ASEAN. So Hong Kong is back online thanks to the Chinese Communist Party. They've rebooted regulations there and looks like committing to allowing digital assets, and which is great. CIS, Russia, Central Eastern Europe, yeah, a bit of a mixed bag, obviously, in Eastern Europe, and so I would say not a good opportunity there. A lot of talent leaving completely, and companies definitely and founders definitely leaving that part of the world. And UAE, huge opportunities in not just UAE, but also Saudi Arabia, Middle East, generally speaking, but certainly UAE, so Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar as well. And if you're interested in the regulations, look up VARA, the Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority. They come with quite clear guidelines and regulations and directives on digital assets, and clearer guidelines on what is an exchange, what is a liquidity provider, what is a market maker, and so on and so forth. So lots of opportunities there here in UAE. NFT skills, yeah. Since September, NFTs have taken a big hit, and there's a lot of wash trading. And if you're not familiar with what wash trading is, it's basically someone buys an NFT. Often they're also the creator of the NFT. And because we're dealing with wallet addresses, not identifiable bank accounts, they sell the NFT and then buy it themselves at a 20% premium from another wallet address that they own. And everybody else thinks it's gone up 20% value, and there's FOMO, and then the next person who is a real buyer, they buy it for an additional 50%, and suddenly the original creator has made 70%, 20% that they bought it back from, and 50% that the second buyer bought it. So a lot of wash trading going on. I would avoid NFTs, especially artistic kind of collections and stuff like that, unless you want to buy an NFT from your favorite sports person. Then go for it. And yeah, NFT sales volumes have gone down. So it will make a comeback, but in terms of infrastructure, so dealing with NFT, incorporating NFTs in ownership of property, of luxury goods, of tracing origin of items, those sorts of things. Yeah, dev communities, JavaScript, Ethereum, Solana. Oh yeah, JavaScript remains massive. There's a number of developers there. Ethereum is 5% of JavaScript developer community, and Solana is even less than Ethereum number of developers. And Solana is now experiencing lots of outages again. So I would also avoid companies in the Solana ecosystem, including Solana itself. Start with your strengths. So now the question is, okay, so where do I start? How do I get a job? Well, figure out what your strengths are. If you don't already, really ask yourself the tough questions. What do you love doing? What would you get paid for doing? And what are you good at? Those three things. The Japanese call it ikigai. Find your ikigai. Ask your parents have told you what you're good at. Your partners have told you what you're good at. Your best friends, your colleagues, managers, bosses, they've all pointed out to you at some point in your life. and then also look at your patterns of achievements and do a reverse test of that to find some patterns. Think about your motivations and interests. This can be this definitely drives people, what you're interested in. If you've ever learned a language, at some point, if you're not interested in it, you're just not going to bother learning it. So you need to be interested. And also your technical abilities. If you're more of a kind of mathematical, you're an engineer, etc., definitely follow those and be really good at it. And be proactive. So I'll come back to that. I'll definitely come back to that. Do your research, not just to know what's happening in the market and with specific companies and the trends and patterns, but also think about the nature of organizations themselves, and the ups and downs they go through and the stages they go through. So a company that makes an announcement on LinkedIn or Crunchbase about raising money, good target, great target. There's a great chance that they're actually hiring. But on the other hand, a lot of people will be applying there. So you'll have to be patient and be persistent. Those companies that are expanding into other markets, they're a great target. So follow the press releases closely and company announcements. Replacements, you won't really know that information unless you know people inside companies. Restructuring, mergers and acquisitions. If one company buys another company or merges with a company, again, look at the press releases and the news surrounding companies. Look at large, medium, and small. They all have pros and cons. If you join a large company, it's very corporate, slower decision making, over time, less innovation. A small company is faster cycles, and you probably will wear more. You'll do more than what you're hired for. So it's a great learning curve, but they might have budgetary issues, and they might want to start you with a freelancer or part-time. Large companies, of course, have more money. So there's trade-offs between large and small, and then there's companies in the middle where you might find a sweet spot. But for beginners, small companies, startups are a really great place to start. Also, because right now, and this is a point I want you all to remember, is you will be competing against people who've been in the industry for a while, who have great experience, but are unemployed or underemployed. So they're going to keep targeting the large and medium companies, or do their own thing. Actually, if they're good, and they know what they're doing and have a great idea, they'll launch their own project. But it's unlikely someone's going to go having worked from Kraken as a director, or Flare Network, or any notable company, to then go into a startup that isn't theirs. So I would be targeting those opportunities. And then consider, do you want to work remotely or open to relocation? Remote is very standard, of course, but I'm based in Dubai now, hiring for my team, and we want people here. It's not my decision, but there's a lot of opportunities if you're willing to pack your bags and relocate. You can skip a few steps and you can get much closer to the management and to the CEO, and they will treat you more favorably with that face-to-face contact than if you're on the other side of the world as a freelancer. No matter how good you are, there is a bias, let's put it this way, and you can use the bias in your favor, but be prepared to relocate. Yeah, obviously know your terminology, and people mix up a lot of these terms and they don't mean the same thing, and that can be mistaken for not knowing what you're talking about. And I get this in interviews a lot, and so make sure you're familiar with lots of these terms. Here are some popular job boards, specifically for the crypto market, and then of course LinkedIn. Approaching recruiters and projects. Some tips, some do's and don'ts. Have a nice CV that's easy to read and has visual elements. There's nothing worse than a plain and boring CV. I should have had some examples, but it's okay next time. Highlight your skills and strengths. 2 to 3, just the core ones, so the recruiter can see it at the top or highlighted. Okay, now I get it. I know what this person is best at. And if it's cold outreach, I do recommend putting a note why you're reaching out and why you will be a good fit for the role. Genuinely why you think you will be a good fit, not wishful thinking. Cover letters, probably not necessary. I do look at them, I do read them, but not necessary. Yeah, be prepared. If you get invited to an interview or a discussion, don't ask the boring questions. How many people are you? So what do you do, etc. Already know those answers basically, and ask some more in-depth questions, more insightful questions. For example, what would make or break this candidate, or make or break this position? What is a superstar going to be doing? How does a superstar act in this role versus a poor performer? Or what are you looking for in a candidate that you haven't told any candidates? Really find some creative questions to come up with. It's a numbers game. Even for me, when I was applying for jobs, and I have good experience, it was a numbers game. But keep your options in the area that you want them to be. So if you want to do DeFi, stick to DeFi. If you want to do metaverse, do metaverse. If you want to do real world tokenization, stick to that. And it is a numbers game, so be prepared to send at least 20 CVs, probably up to 40 or 50, and track them, and then go over your lists every 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Follow up. Probably you need to follow up. I had a sales representative tell me they followed up no less than 8 times. I would say about 4 or 5 is okay, because I lose messages, I'm busy, lots of reasons why they don't happen. So you do need to just be persistent and follow up. Yeah. When you're in an interview with a recruiter or with a CEO or project team member that you're interviewing with, stay away from discussing trading, token prices, things like that, unless you're applying for a trading firm or an exchange or something where prices are important. For 2 reasons. One, you don't want to appear scammy, and that's all that you know and care about. And secondly, there is so much more to this industry than price. Yeah. And that third point, again, asking questions that you should have known the answer to with your own research. All right, so I do understand that you're all kind of entry level, new to this. You don't really have 2, 3, 4, 5 years of experience in the industry. So you're competing now, I have to tell you bluntly, with very experienced people and smart people and interesting talent out there. All I have to do these days is put out a job ad and I'll get dozens of applicants, good applicants. 6, 9 months ago, struggling. So it's changed significantly. So you need to find ways to stand out. One of them can be to offer to do a 2-week trial for them, without charge, like a probation period, a trial period. That's totally fine. I wouldn't offer more than 2 weeks, because then you're working for free, and I don't agree with that. But to basically offer yourself and do whatever that they need to prove your worth. That's the general point. Some specific points: if you are a writer, do some writing. Show them what you can write. If they are a game, write something interesting about a game topic. If you're a community manager, show them a one-page plan of how you would manage the Discord and what strategies and tactics you would use. And if you're an engineer, show some code snippets. Even if you're a Web2 engineer, you haven't done any blockchain engineering, they just need to see the quality of your code. If you're a C# or C++ engineer, and you want to get into learning Unreal Engine or Solidity, code quality is code quality. They will see that. Or if you're already doing a course in Solidity, you can show off your skills, what you've learned, but show something. If you're a marketer, show a high-level strategy, how they could market their DeFi product or their exchange or their game or whatever it is, come up with a one-page high-level strategy that is creative. If you're a recruiter in HR, someone like me, I would show profiles of people that they probably haven't considered and impress them that way, or point out gaps in their organization and impress them that way. If you're a manager, operations, project management, I was thinking about how you could show off your abilities here, and I think it would be to tell them who inspires you in the business world and why. Maybe Sheryl Sandberg's way of communicating, or Tim Cook, or whoever it is, Elon Musk, or someone from the crypto world, blockchain world, but obviously not Sam Bankman-Fried. So yeah, there's some tips there. And salary, remuneration, and tokens. So yeah, my vast majority of companies are hiring on business agreements. Things just move too fast in this space. Whether they're hiring or firing, it happens quickly. So employment contracts are uncommon. So and you can either be a freelancer individually or have an entity and use that. And there's tax benefits for doing that, depending on which country you're in. 2 to 4 weeks probation period is pretty standard. If you're more senior, it's going to be longer. Have a quick look at this slide. Average salaries by job type. Yeah, I would be discounting all of those by 40% right now. 40% you can reduce these salaries for multiple factors. Companies running out of money, struggling to raise money, and just an overall oversupply of talent, and that's who you're going to be competing with. So have a look at those numbers. And to be frank, it's not a surprise if I hire someone full-time and they're doing something else on the side, especially not now in such a negative market, so that they top up their salary working on with a second client or a third client. But as long as it doesn't affect your work, it should be okay. But if it does affect your work, it's risky. Yes, I would not be accepting native tokens. If a company says, "Oh, we'll pay you in our whatever coin," say no, thank you. USDT, USDC, or fiat currency. Especially if it was a bear market, a bull market, perhaps, but definitely not now. And yeah, that's the typical release schedule of a token. So if a company is offering you base salary in euros, dollars, or whatever it is, that's great. And they're offering you tokens on top, even better, but not. I wouldn't do it in lieu of. So if they say, "Oh, we'll pay you $5K a month," $3,000 of those will be in tokens. Not a good deal, especially not now. So yeah, But and here is some blogs, YouTube channels, podcasts to look into, and keep up your learning.